Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast session with AutoChamp Wandelen. That's right, everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you all about the Volvo ES90. You know, I was actually this close to calling it a Polestar, and then also the Volvo EX60. That's right. So the reason why I was close to calling it a Polestar is because I had the pleasure of seeing the Volvo ES90 myself, and I have to say that the first thing that came to my mind was that it looked like a Polestar 4. And I reviewed the Polestar 4, and I have to say that this has to be one of the most interesting electric cars currently available, competing against the likes of the Mercedes EQE and perhaps the BMW i5. But it's of selective taste. I reviewed it, and I have to say I was not exactly impressed with it, but that's particularly because of its design and how it kind of drifts away from the Volvo tradition in terms of design. It definitely drifts away from Volvo characteristics from what I'm seeing. In fact, I'm looking at the photos of it right now on my laptop, and I have to say it's really, really interesting what I'm seeing right here. So when it comes to the Volvo ES90, I looked around it. I even looked at the interior. In fact, I'm going to look at the interior right now of this thing. Right now, folks. And I have to say that the interior is very... It deviates a bit from the Volvo traditions in terms of design. And to me, in my personal opinion, that's a bit of a letdown. But it's not exactly a very big deal. It's something... it's of selective taste, and eventually there are people who will argue that the design had to evolve, and I can fully respect that. I can understand, okay? So, first of all, I want to start by talking to you all a bit about my interactions with Volvo cars since I was a child. A long time ago, when I used to live in Ixelles, in the city of Brussels, I used to see a lot of Volvo estate wagons. It was mostly the estate wagons that stood out to me. And then over the years, during the 2000s, Volvo releases the XC90, which was a very, very hot seller, everyone. Everybody liked it. Families loved it. Great family wagon. And then along the years, Volvo releases the famous XC60, which was supposed to be kind of like a cheaper and stylish version of the XC90. But if I'm being honest, it looked more stylish than the XC90. In fact, it came to a point where I was thinking to myself, what was Volvo doing with the XC90? They didn't update it for a long time. And then, over the years, things got even more interesting. So with the Volvo models, they really improved. They released the second generation XC90, which was a hot seller, guys, during the mid-2010s. But let's face it, it became a bit pricey, and it felt as if Volvo kind of changed. They kind of aimed for the premium segment. It looked as if they were trying to compete with the Audi Q7, BMW X5, and then the Mercedes E-Class. Now, when it comes to the Volvo ES90, it seems as if each time Volvo releases a new model now, they're kind of drifting away from their identity at this point. Because there was a time Volvo had a really proud design. You could tell it's something Volvo would have done, right? Now you look at their new model, it looks as if they are kind of... starting to have an identity crisis, and that unfortunately is a problem I've noticed with many Chinese car manufacturers. So that across the Geely Group, and then we're talking about BYD, and then there's some other Chinese car manufacturers like MG. MG is British by all means, but these guys are owned by a Chinese car manufacturer or a group called SAIC Motors, SAIC, and let's face it, their identity crisis is atrocious, in my opinion, guys, okay? Whatever I just said is my opinion, so don't take it, whatever I say as the gospel. Maybe I am mistaken. Maybe there's a different perspective you guys have. Now, when it came to answering the electric car question, everybody scrambled and everybody underwent an identity crisis. In fact, many people have been saying things about the Porsche Taycan. The Porsche Taycan is honestly my favorite electric car out there, but it is true that they did have a bit of a identity crisis of their own. I personally like it. I think Porsche did a great job with the Taycan. Don't you guys think? I sure think so. The Volkswagen Group, they did a great job, but it seems as if right now it's only the premium segment that's getting all the stylish electric cars. Whereas if you want a budget electric car, right now, only BYD has the answer with the all-new BYD Dolphin Surf, which I also reviewed. In fact, you can check the links in the description for my YouTube videos where I review the BYD Dolphin Surf, the Volvo EX90, and of course, the certain Polestar models like the Polestar 4, Polestar 2, Polestar 3. Check the link in the description for my YouTube reviews of those. Now, back to what I was talking about. When it comes to the BYD Dolphin Surf, it's whilst the price is very budget, the car definitely feels budget and it looks budget. It's definitely not the kind of car you would dream of driving around in, but hey, who cares about that when you're paying less than 25,000 euros, right? Well, Microlino has the opposite problem. They have the Microlino is a Swiss car manufacturer. Yeah, that's right, guys. I just said it. They're Swiss. That's amazing, right? So they released this tiny, stylish electric car, but it's only good from driving from A to B. You can't really do much with it because it's a two-seater. So again, that raises another dilemma. So when it comes to the electric car question, as I repeat, everybody has been having their own shares of problems. The Volvo ES90, I repeat, gives me the Polestar vibes. In fact, I just told you all that I reviewed the Volvo EX90. Let me tell you about my impression of it. The Volvo EX90 is... I remember being a bit disappointed when I first saw it because I definitely felt like it was Volvo drifting away from its identity. But at the same time, it had me thinking it replaces the XC90, which was a bit of a shock. But then I realized that Volvo is not replacing the XC90. In fact, they released a facelift version of it recently, and that's, in my opinion, even worse because I thought they were going to release a new generation by now, or they were going to do something different. But okay, fine, facelift for now it is, right? When it comes to the Volvo EX90. They just went completely simple with it for the interior. They went down the similar route as many electric car manufacturers. Tesla released the first ever desirable electric car by all means, but hey, when it first came out, me personally, I was like, okay, this is cool. I was not exactly thinking this is going to be the best thing on the road because I knew eventually many car manufacturers would come up with their own response to the electric car question. So when it came to the Tesla, I was a bit, I had my own thoughts about it. When it came to the Volvo EX90, my apologies. Actually, I was trying to talk about the Volvo EX90. The Volvo EX90, great for the fact that you have a 7-seater for an electric car. This is quite a rare quality. This is amazing. And that too, you get the Volvo safety. Prima. It's brilliant. I like it. But I just think that the Volvo definitely is... when it came to the design, I felt like they lost the plot over there. I felt like they definitely they just went too simple. They employed too much simplicity, and for the rest, it just definitely doesn't feel like the same Volvo energy as many years ago. Because I remember as a child, Volvo cars were something relatable. It was something everybody could afford. It was something. It was in the mass market almost, give or take. But now they've just completely gone to trying competing in the premium segment against Volkswagen Group, BMW, and Mercedes. And when I say Volkswagen Group, I'm trying to say in particular they're trying to compete with Audi and to a certain extent maybe Porsche, depending on the model you're talking about. Because when it comes to Porsche, the Macan EV, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I reviewed the Macan EV. In fact, you can check the links in the description for my YouTube video where I reviewed the Macan EV. I have to say, I was not exactly impressed with the Porsche Macan EV. I was like thinking, what have they done with this? The previous generation looked better, but from the get-go, I never really liked the Porsche Macan that much. I preferred the Porsche Model 911 or the Porsche Cayenne. These Porsches make more sense, in my opinion. But hey, taken for days, right? So back to the Porsche ES90. In fact, let's take a look at the pictures of the EX60. I'm very curious about the EX60, guys, because it's a model that's upcoming, so it's very nice. Oh, before I go to the EX60, I want to talk to you all about my perspective of the EX30. The Porsche EX30, no, I can't believe I just said Porsche EX30. Oh my goodness, how embarrassing. I just literally confused a Volvo for Porsche. Well, actually, the only thing they have in common these days is the fact that they both don't have any front grille anymore. I mean, if you look at the electric Volvos of today, they've just gotten rid of that proud Volvo front grille. That's got to be embarrassing, right? And that's exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned earlier the identity crisis of Volvo. Now, the identity crisis of Volvo is not severe, guys, but there should not have to be an identity crisis to begin with. Come on, Volvo. What's the deal over there? What's the deal? Oh, right. Okay, well, what was I in the middle of? Yes, EX60. Oh, I was going to tell you all about the EX30. The EX30 was, in my opinion, a disappointment, but that's because Volvo for many decades has had a curse of never being able to build an interesting small car. For many decades, they've tried something. So first, they had a collaboration with a Dutch car manufacturer called DAF, D-A-F. These guys still are around. They build trucks. But they used to build cars, and they had this collaboration with Volvo, and it didn't go very well. They released some embarrassing Volvo cars. In fact, the DAF cars were nice, tiny, but let's just say some things about their design were a bit embarrassing, in my opinion. All right, this is just my opinion. Then Volvo, they kind of drifted a lot when it came to small cars, because during the 90s or in the very late 80s, they released a Volvo that they released a Volvo, my apologies, that looked like the Honda Civic. Do you see how embarrassing that was? Literally, I saw it and I first thought this was a Honda Civic, and then somebody told me, nope, it's a Volvo. And I was like, no, you have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Come on, Volvo. What was it with your small cars? Because that's the thing. I noticed the same problem with Mercedes. The thing Volvo and Mercedes have in common is that they both are perfect when it comes to big vehicles and trucks, right? They build the best SUVs and trucks and basically anything that has a big engine or a big size to it or a big price tag to it. But anything that's like cheaper or small, like anything like the Mercedes Class A or the Mercedes B Class or the Volvo tiny cars, like I think it was the Volvo C30, their small cars are just embarrassments. They never see success for some reason compared to what BMW comes up with, and compared to the Volkswagen group, and then of course compared to French car manufacturers and basically Stellantis today. So oh, by the way, now I'm going to talk to you all about the XC60. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh, wow, that is awesome, but I just don't get it. It looks like a mishmash between the Volvo EX90 and then also you have the Volvo XC60 from the side. The side profile looks like the XC60, but then on the surface it looks like the EX90, sort of a small version of it. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Why is everybody doing this? I noticed the same problem with BMW. In fact, you'll be embarrassed to know I literally confused an X1 for an X5. That's how embarrassing it is these days with many car manufacturers. Why are they building cars that resemble each other? Why can't they just make cars different from each other? Like what Volvo did with the XC60 ages ago and the XC90, they were different. That is so much better. But no, we all have to make cars resemble each other. That is just, oh, come on, Volvo. What is this? Now, these images I'm looking at, these are just, I don't think these are official pictures, but we'll see when it gets out. We'll see what will happen. I'm just looking at random pictures right now. I'm seeing some sources saying it will look like the XC60, but just simple, and then it looks like and then some sources show that it looked like a small version of the X90. We'll see, guys. But overall, I can't exactly say I'm impressed with what Volvo did with the new ES90. Let's take a look at the ES90 again. So I'm looking at the photo of it. First thing that comes to my mind is definitely Polestar. In fact, let me talk to you all a little bit about the Polestar brand. So the Polestar brand started out as a kind of sporty, or should I say higher trim level of Volvo cars. So then they kind of became a brand of their own at some point. They started out by releasing an interesting coupe that resembles the Volvo P1800, if I'm correct, that's the name. It looked like a modernized version of that, and that was awesome. That was quite sexy. But then at the same time, I was thinking, why, like, something is different, because I'm missing the days when Volvo was accessible to everyone, whereas now they kind of went towards the premium segment. So it feels very different now. It feels like they're trying to pick a fight with Mercedes, BMW, and Porsche maybe. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I have my opinions on this. Maybe it's just my opinion. But if you want me to be honest, I think Polestar definitely has potentials. Now, it seems as if Polestar is definitely fully electric. All their cars are 100% electric. So they're trying to pick a fight with the likes of Tesla and BYD. And if I'm being honest, the biggest advantage Polestar has would be the identity. Like I saw the Polestar 2, and it looks like someone bought a Volvo S60 or something. Yeah, I think it's the Volvo S60, and gave it a cross-country theme to it. So it looks like a jacked-up Volvo S60, and it definitely looks awesome. A crossover version of the S60, right? But it definitely looks more interesting, definitely has the Volvo identity, and it kind of reminds me of Volvo sedans of the 1980s and the 1990s. That is so cool. I had a bit of a deja vu when I saw the Polestar 2. Now, the Polestar 3 is where things get very interesting, because when it comes to identity, I see a tiny bit of a crisis, but at the same time, I looked at it at first glance and I was like, I like that car. damn, I actually like that car. There's just something really nice about the Polestar 3. I like it. And you want to know something a bit embarrassing? It looks quite interesting compared to the Volvo EX90. Now, I know you all will think these are completely different cars. One is a family car, another one is supposed to be something like what is an Audi Q8, basically. So, that's basically the philosophy behind the Polestar 3, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Polestar did a great job with the Polestar 3. I liked it. So I just like the way they executed the design from certain angles. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same chassis as the EX90. So it is really cool. They did a great job with it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's meant to compete against the likes of the Tesla Model X, and then also I'm trying to think about it. I think the Mercedes EQE SUV, or I think it's the EQS SUV. I'm not sure. But Mercedes, if I'm being honest, when it comes to the electric car questions, their EQ classes, whatever I'm about to say is just my opinion, guys. The EQ classes are embarrassing with the round edge design. I mean, come on. What was Mercedes thinking with that? BMW, I think, so far has one of the best EVs in terms of design. Okay? Like, I just like what they did with the i5. The BMW i5 is chocolate fondue. One of the best electric cars available. And same for the BMW i4. That is awesome. Whereas the Volkswagen Group, the only car I really like from them, which is electric, would be certain Audi e-tron models and then the Porsche Taycan. But for the rest, I'm not so sure about the Volkswagen ID models. As I mentioned earlier, when it came to the electric car question, it seemed as if Volkswagen really, really scrambled a lot to answer that question. I'm like, what? Volkswagen, what's up with you, bro? What are you doing? But then, to be fair, irrespective of what I'm saying, again, whatever I'm saying on this podcast is not the gospel, okay? So maybe I'm mistaken, and irrespective of what I say, I'm sure there are fans out there who love what Volkswagen's up to and who love the EV cars of today. And then, of course, they sell like hotcakes, because I'm just going to go out for a drive later in the day, and what will I see? Tons of Volkswagen ID models and tons of Audi e-trons. And of course, I did see a good number of Volvo EX90s. I'm going to make a confession to you all. The EX90 isn't that bad, actually. It's quite a nice SUV. It's a quite nice SUV to drive. In fact, I held a live session on it on YouTube for it, and I had a chance of looking around it many times. And I have to say, the more you look at it, the more you start to see some Volvo traits. Okay, but it's just you have to get used to the simplicity behind it. Now, what is it with the ES90, the new ES90? Well, it hasn't been officially released yet, at least not from what I can see, but I hope to review it as soon as I can, as soon as it's officially out. And I really have a lot to think of it. So from certain angles, I see it has some S90 traits, Volvo S90, and I don't know what will become of the estate wagon version. I think it'll be called the EV90, right? That would make more sense. Let me check it out, actually. Let's see if that exists. Oh, my apologies. Is it out? Is it out? Oh. Okay. I got some really funny results on the web, so I don't think I'm not gonna trust what the web shows me. I'm just gonna trust my own site. All right, we'll see what we see. We'll see what will happen. We'll see what comes out, what rolls out, guys. But at this point in time, I think when it comes to the EV car question, electric car question, Volvo is doing some really interesting cars, and also this brings me down to Lotus. I'm quite interested in what Lotus did with the Emea and then the Lotus Elettre. The Lotus Elettre is quite one of the most interesting EV cars available. In fact, I saw quite a number of them on the road. It's a good alternative to the Porsche Taycan. Very, very stylish indeed, guys. Very, very stylish, but just of selective taste, because I know somebody who is not a fan of these, and they say because it's not a real Lotus, right? For them, the real Lotus is something lightweight and something that was actually born from the racetrack, and I can't help but say I kind of agree with them. But then, hey, in this day and age, competition is quite a thing, right? I mean, Porsche started this with the Taycan, so what makes you think everybody else is just going to stay silent in the background, right? Then you have the Maserati Grecale Folgore. The Grecale Folgore is a crossover SUV by Maserati, and of course, likewise, it's electric, and it's not a real Maserati. For everybody, the real Maserati is something like one of their sporty coupes, like the Gran Turismo. And of course, the Quattroporte. Now, I had the pleasure of reviewing the Maserati Grecale, Folgore, and the Gran Turismo, and I have to say there's one big problem. The infotainment system on both of these cars are very similar to what I spotted on Peugeot. Now, I did this review last year of them, so maybe by then things have changed. But guys, this is embarrassing, okay? It's really embarrassing what Stellantis has been doing lately. So brings me back to Volvo. I think when it comes to the Geely Group compared to Stellantis, these guys have definitely gotten their acts together. But at the same time, it's quite obvious there's a lot of component sharing. There's a lot of sharing of minor equipments. In fact, speaking of the Volvo EX90 and the Volvo ES90 and most new electric Volvos of today, they have something on the roof, all right? It's actually a LiDAR system. It's supposed to be part of their safety gadgets. How awesome is that? But at the same time, something embarrassing is the fact that it just makes the car look like a taxi, guys. That's really embarrassing. I mean, come on. I know you want to play it safe, but you might as well just make your car look cooler, no? Why put that thing on the roof, making it look like a taxi? Jesus. I mean, what was Volvo thinking on this? I know they want to play it safe too much, but I think this time they went a bit too far. And then I'm not talking about Volvo alone on this. I'm talking about various car manufacturers actually that do a lot of things trying to answer the electric car questions, but just end up being cringy. Oh my goodness. Anyways. So, what else shall we talk about, folks? Oh, right. We were talking about Lotus, weren't we? Lotus. These are one of the reasons why there's a lot of hate towards electric cars. Because, again, to answer the electric car question, meant everybody gotten rid of their identity. Or at least, if not everybody, most people have, right? They wanted to play Tesla style by having a really simple interior, having a massive touchscreen from which you control the entire car. And I can't exactly say I'm a fan of this concept, everyone. I'm not exactly a fan of this concept. Why can't you just be yourself? Why can't you just be yourself? Why? Why? I mean, look at what Mercedes has done. Look at them with their big touchscreen. Mercedes, come on, Mercedes. Go back to the days when you had a nice mouse pad and or small wheel where I could control the infotainment system. So far, the only guy with the best infotainment system is BMW. Seriously, BMW, you rock. But just don't you dare bring a massive touchscreen into your car. Don't you dare, okay? I have my eyes on you guys. And this brings me down to the interior of the Volvo ES90. Let's take a look at it. Let's cross our fingers and hope, because I saw the interior. Oh, they have a big touchscreen. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's official. Volvo is trying to play simple. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. Wow, Volvo, way to go, Volvo. So much for your Swedish vibes. I mean, you're no longer very Swedish anymore. I mean, you know what? Okay, this is going to be embarrassing. For me, the only real Volvo that's very, very Swedish is got to be the Volvo trucks. I do a lot of truck spotting, as you guys know, and my feelings every time I see the Volvo FH truck. That is so awesome. Really, these are the real Volvos. And listen to the door sounds every time you open and close their doors. It's bloom, bloom. It's so nice. Kutung, kutung. Oh, actually, kutung, kutung, that's Mercedes. I had the pleasure of seeing some old Mercedes vans and trucks. And when you open and close their doors, they have this metallic effect. It's, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Whereas you can't really say the same about modern day Volvo cars. Except maybe the XC90 and the EX90. If you listen carefully to the front doors, the driver's door and the front passenger door, it has a loud boom or doom. So something. Sorry, this is embarrassing. I know it's cringy. I'm trying to make the door sound of a Volvo, but it's their back door that has a nice Scandinavian sound. It sounds very bold, like I don't know how to make it. Just go to random Volvo EX90 and try closing the back door, and you will hear this loud boom. And it's so Swedish. I love it. And I noticed a similar thing on the Lynk & Co. The Lynk & Co. 01. I had the pleasure. I actually have one for sometimes for driving, and it's a really interesting car. Actually, it's a plug-in hybrid, but honestly, it's a car with a bit of an identity crisis if you're into design. Because when I first saw the Lynk & Co. 01, I literally thought somebody bought a Kia Sportage and colored it up, covered it in publicity and stuff. Because here in Belgium, the Kia Sportage was actually quite popular. And I say was because the new Kia Sportage is very different now. Like, nobody really talks about it. In fact, I'm going to do a podcast about that someday. And speaking of the Volvo ES90, you want to know something funny? Whilst many car manufacturers have kind of vanished in public presence, Volvo continues to grow in public presence. They are expanding in public presence. And how cool is that? It's making me feel embarrassed because I'm not able to prove my point. Oh no. Just when I was desperate to prove that being modernized or going all, I don't know, touchscreen or all modern was not a good idea, everybody is instead loving the idea. So maybe I'm the one that needs to change my thoughts. Oh, you guys are wondering what's my favorite interior, right? Well, think of what BMW has done, Not going too far with all the touchscreen, right? But just maintaining some physical buttons. But then, to be fair, certain Volkswagen Group cars are amazing. Like what Porsche did with their latest cars that are not exactly electric, right? Not all of them. But the Porsche Taycan is a good one because they still have physical buttons. Well, at least soft touch buttons. But you get the point, right? You get my point. If only everybody could be like that. I mean, why is everybody trying to go all simple? Oh, I know why. Because for buttons, the production process is quite expensive. So many people are trying to go down the route of cost cutting in the production process. So not surprisingly, they've came up with embarrassing results. This moment when you go on a science project, your teacher tells everyone in class to come up with a science project, and everybody's like, whoopee, yay, science class. You end up, and then you are the one in class who comes up with the copy and paste. You see what somebody else did, you copy them and you paste, or you do something small just to impress your teacher, and you only end up getting, I don't know, mid-grade, right? You don't pass, but then you don't fail either. The teacher's like, whatever, here, this is your little pass. You can go enjoy your reward. Yeah. Oh my God, this brings me back memories of when I was at school, guys. I remember when we were at school, we had to do some projects for the science fair. I remember some embarrassing things some of my classmates actually did. I know one classmate of mine who literally copied and pasted information. He didn't even provide references. He just copied and pasted information, and he just expected the teacher to buy whatever he showed. The teacher was clearly upset because he didn't reference his work. And I was just like cringing the whole time. Although, if I'm being honest, I was no saint either. Because when it came to science projects and science classes, I was like pretty much this kid who never excelled at anything. I was not enthusiastic about it. But at the same time, work had to be done, right? So I just took all the shortcuts possible. How embarrassing. I know. Although, there was always this one person in class who was a teacher's favorite student, and not surprisingly, that person got away with it all the time because of all that little minor detail I was paid attention to. Always the teacher's favorite class student. Yeah. Way to go. If only everybody could be like that in terms of cars, right? The automotive industry. At this point, the teacher in class, I don't think at this point there's even a teacher in class. There's nobody maintaining standards. Everybody is following a trend. They see this one guy rock and rolling on TikTok. They think everybody has to go on TikTok and be exactly like this guy. I'm like, bro, calm down. Don't do that. Come on, just be yourself, okay? Be yourself. My biggest wish for Volvo is that they can be themselves, okay? I just hope so. But then with Geely in the picture, they're likely going to be doing a lot of component sharing, and I can respect that because it reduces production costs. Because if production costs were to increase, the price of the vehicle would go through the roof, and that's not exactly something we all want. It's not a possibility we all want to entertain. So, now, next topic. My conclusion. What's my conclusion of the Volvo EX90? I think I see potentials in it from certain angles. It does have the Volvo identity to it, and in terms of technology, they really have some promises, guys. You can even watch YouTube in their car. The infotainment system is an Android system, from what I recall, which is a bit of a pity because the Volkswagen Group, Mercedes, and BMW, they have their own infotainment system. They have their own system, which is cool, which they have excelled through time by now. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. I was just talking about infotainment systems, and here I just had a little incident with my microphone. This is embarrassing. Me trying to talk about Volvo's infotainment system, comparing with Mercedes, BMW, and Audi, and then I have this microphone accident. Oh my goodness, what a coincidence. I think somebody at Volvo is trying to whisper to me to stop it. We're going to come up with our own infotainment system. Oh my goodness, that would be so cool. If Volvo could actually come up with its own infotainment system, I would definitely be one of the happiest person ever. I would definitely be so happy for Volvo. If this could happen, that would be awesome. Come on, Volvo, release your own infotainment system. If you could do this, I'd be so thrilled. I expect, this would be the best thing ever, because an Android system is always nice, but then come on, really? Do you really need an Android system? I could just use the Google Maps on my phone and then voila, get the work done. Now, I want to talk about some, before we wrap this up, I just want to talk about the other aspects, right? I want to talk about something about competitors, let's say. So far, the Volvo Group, well, more like the Geely Group compared to others like the Volkswagen Group, the Stellantis, and then BMW, Mercedes, which is part of Daimler, and then some other competitors. We have to say that the Geely Group has been skyrocketing lately. They have been climbing the ranks because about 20 years ago, this was unimaginable, okay? Everybody was cringing at this prospect. Everybody was thinking Mercedes will be the one to live to tell the tale. Same for BMW. Well, actually, 20 years ago, BMW also had some cringy things going on. They had reliability issues back in the 2000s, guys. And same for the Volkswagen Group. The Volkswagen Group did also have a lot of good things going on. They thought Mercedes and the Volkswagen Group were going to live to tell the tale with Audi, Porsche, and everything. Oh my goodness. But today, how funny. The table has just flipped upside down. We have Tesla in the picture. In fact, Tesla skyrocketed. They got in there and they kind of made the German competitors freak out. And in the moment of this freak out, everybody rushed to answer the electric car question and they released some embarrassing images, embarrassing results. And when I say embarrassing images, I'm talking about the prospect, guys, the big picture right here, okay? The big painting I'm seeing right here. So much embarrassing stuff. And I just wish nobody had to be pretentious about it. And when I say pretentious, I mean in the context of, like, why do you want to put a big touchscreen just to be like what somebody else has come up with? Come on. Come up with your own stuff. Anyways. Right. So Stellantis at this point has been doing a lot of cost cutting, and it's just embarrassing, some of the things they've released. Although I like certain cars they've released, certain cars are quite artistic. In fact, when it comes to Stellantis, in terms of design, they have released some more interesting designs than what the Volkswagen Group has come up with, especially for their budget cars or not so expensive cars, okay? Like what they did with the Peugeot cars is awesome. The Peugeot 508 is sexy, especially with the PSE trim level. The PSE trim level is supposed to be something like what a Barth is to Fiat. So that's a similar philosophy. Okay, to simplify things, the PSE trim level is what the M package is to BMW, right? Or the S line to Audi cars. That's basically the PSE trim level. It's awesome. I actually saw a number of those on the road. Well, okay, that's a lie. That's a lie. I actually, no, it's not a lie, but it's a mistake from my side. I didn't see a number of those on the road, but I know somebody who has one, and he was quite happy with this. He was quite happy with it. All right, I know that's a little bit of a tangent from what we were originally talking about, the Volvo ES90 and the Volvo EX90 and the Volvo brand in general, the Polestar brand in general, and the Geely Group in general, and the EV car in general, and all those things in general. Oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing, the things I had to see, the things I had to endure. But then at the same time, I did see a number of rolling work of art. And no, those working arts are not only from France and Italy, like everybody thinks. Sometimes the best opera does come from other parts of the world, okay? The best opera also came from the USA, like Tesla. Tesla did some awesome things, and I have to say this on a special note to Tesla. Tesla, thank you so much for releasing the first ever desirable electric car, which everybody could dream of owning. The initiatives towards electric car was very important from the beginning, all right? Because many years ago, before you did something about it, everybody lost hope. Everybody thought that electric cars would be econo boxes, which are so embarrassing to drive. So embarrassing. But you brought some life to it. And for that, Tesla, I owe you big thanks. Thank you so much, Tesla. Thank you. And thank you to everybody, all right? Thank you to you all for watching this podcast till this time, this moment. Don't forget to push the follow button, push the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more podcasts that are on the run. Stay tuned for more of my car reviews that are on the run. Stay tuned for more of my truck spotting sessions, and stay tuned for more and more car topics that are on the run. And I have to say, I love you all right? I love you all for being car enthusiasts. I love you all for being there. And yeah, you know, we're definitely going to be talking about more cars, right? Are we going to talk about more cars? Are we going to talk about cars? I don't hear you all. Yes. Woo! All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you all next time. See ya. Bye.